I'm ready, yeah.
Okay, but you're gonna get on that mic.
I'm good. Yeah. I'm good, ready to go.
Here we go. 5, 4.
Good morning, radio friends. This is Reverend Thomas Humphrey coming to you again as the Lounge Row. It's a beautiful day today because the weather is killing all the germs from the environment. Today we have a wonderful show. My co-host is still here with me. She came from Dearport with her daughter. And as you know always, the Reverend always going to be talking about Mr. Trump. According to Newsday, the news that Special Counsel Robert Mueller wanted to interview President Donald Trump regarding his Russian probe is just the latest major signal that the issue that has followed the Trump since before the 2016 election isn't going away. She's smiling over there. Some have called it the central challenge to the Trump presidency. It has followed the president through the first 12 months of his tenure, despite his regular call for the investigation to be halted. Indications are the probe might not just be about election collusion, but also obstruction of justice, and some believe money laundering. Amen. This is all about the money laundering of Steve Bannon, Trump's former chief strategist and campaign CEO, is quoted as saying in Fire and Fury, a book about the administration's first year that has rolled Washington and nation politics. It is a plan as the hair of your face. The hair of your face. Trump has not directly responded to Bannon's claim, nor one in which Bannon called a meeting between Trump campaign figures and the Russians in the 2016 presidential treasonous. But instead, he said his former aide has lost his mind. As Trump reached the anniversary of his inauguration, Russia has been the issue he cannot shake. Mueller, who took over the case after Trump fired FBI Director James Comey in May, is leading a criminal probe of whether the Trump campaign colluded with Russia. The administration has acknowledged various meetings and communication with Russia officials, especially a meeting at the Trump Tower in Manhattan in the summer 2016. Regarding Hillary Clinton emails, a confab Banner and said he saw a treasonous, but has denied any collusion and has called the inquiry fabrication and political motivation. As it stands, the two have pleaded guilty. Michael Flynn, Trump's former national security advisor, and George Papadopoulos, a foreign policy advisor to the campaign, each has admitted lying to the FBI about his contact with the Russian officials. Each man has agreed to cooperate with the investigation. The two others have been indicted. Paul Manafort, Trump's former campaign manager, and Rick Gates, Manafort business partner, face multiple charges involving alleged money laundering, conspiracy against the United States. The failure to disclose lobbying activities on behalf of a foreign power. The Senate and House also are conducting separate hearings, though the House especially has been marked by partisan wingling battle testifying before the House Intelligence Committee last week. Representative Adam Schiff, a Democrat from California, said the House has a dozen more witnesses to question. Senator Richard Barr, a Republican from North Carolina, recently said it is hard to predict when the Senate will wrap up. Susan Hennessy, executive editor of the Lawfare blog and a national security law expert, laid out where the case stands and the possible direction it might take in the recent podcast on VidCon. In what she called the most innocent version, a group of amateurs. The Trump campaign bent on winning the election began sharing efforts with the Russian agency who are looking to help Trump, or maybe just stirring up election chaos. Bringing the political outsiders, the Trump team does not know if it shouldn't be working with the Russians. That working with the foreign power is different from working with Union or the U.S. Commerce or the U.S. Chamber of Commerce to influence an election. Plus, Trump himself, like Russian President Vladimir Putin, then when the meeting, email, and other communications before the public. Trump team doesn't come clean, but instead think the most political expediency thing is to lie. And in the end, the cover-up is worse than the crime. The dark version, Hennessy said, is that the Trump campaign was infiltrated with peoples like Manafort, who have associated the financial ties to the foreign power, and further, the Trump organization has financed ties to the Russians. Donald Trump Jr. was quoted in 2008 as saying Russians account for the disproportionate cross-section of a lot of our assets, and that those in the campaign were working to advance foreign interests while trying to win the election, or just turning a blind eye to the financial entanglements, and as a result, the decision making at the top of the executive branch is not being guided by the best interests of the American people, but by the different set of interests. Mueller worked with the grand jury continue as 2018 opening report surfaced that his team is interested in the interviewing the president himself. Last summer, Trump, in defending his firing of Comey, said he was 100% willing to testify under oath about his conversation with the FBI, a director who told Congressman Trump asked him for a pledge of loyalty and to end the probe of Flynn. Trump response changed in February when they have no collusion, and nobody found any collusion at any level. It seemed unlikely that we would even have an interview. Trump said January the 10th, adding that he would speak with the attorney and he will see what happened. On Wednesday, however, he told reporters, "I am looking forward to it. Actually, as for timing," he said, "I guess they are talking about 2 or 3 weeks but I would love to do it. My friends, I tell you, our president, and he's our president, we voted for him. People voted him in. This man, you know, he brought lying to the White House. And the sad thing about it, Catherine, what gets me, Catherine, this is what gets me, is the fact that he want the FBI's and these protection that we have in the Constitution, even the senators and the Congress, he want them to be loyal to him instead of to the United States. And this is really heartening.
It is, because the people, the senators, all the politicians should be loyal to the Constitution and to the American people, not to one person. You're loyal to one person, isn't that dictatorship? I believe.
That is. That's the definition for a dictator, yes.
And that's dangerous ground. That's something that the American people need to realize, wake up, and again, just doesn't take a truly educated person, formally educated. If people would just educate themselves, not just by the newspapers, but by just opening your eyes and getting involved. I think people they do it individuality basis. Well, what can I do? What's my vote going to do? I think a lot of people feel that way, and they just go along for the ride, whether it's good or bad, and not be heard. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Of course I do.
And it's scary because more people should, see what's really going on.
I was raised, on a farm and doing maturing to become an adult. We had situations where sometimes, you would form a legion with other guys, and you would go out and you would kind of like beat up the other guys, other group. We had I was down south. We had our fists. We didn't have knives and guns, of course. And sometimes you get misplaced by your attitudes.
Right.
But when you get 18 and go into adulthood, the whole thing changes.
Absolutely.
What I did when I was 16 and 17, I didn't do when I was 18 and 19 and 20.
Right. Everything defines you when you're growing up,
Yes.
from your 20s to your 30s to your 40s to your... I know I'm genuinely not the same person as I was at 18,
not.
30, 35, 40. Everything defines you, but you still have to be aware of your surroundings, because everything's a trickle effect where it affects you sooner or later down the line. And if you don't do anything, say anything, you're just there. You have to be involved in your community and higher, because I think every vote does count. If it didn't, then what would be the point?
But once the vote is over, you are president of all the people, not just the one that supported you.
Right, exactly. But it is, no matter what, he is president. So, but you can make certain, if you voice your opinion and vote, that it ends at the end of the 4 years.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
That's a good hope. Yes.
That's, if you don't like what's going on, that's fine to sit and complain and, but you can't, your complaint's only good so far if you don't want to do anything. And what I mean by doing anything is by voting, educating others, what you think or what is going on out there.
So what do you take in the Trump victory? He is president, he was voted in, and we stuck with it for 4 years according to the Constitution. So what do you take from the fact that these 4 years that he is in, what do you take from the fact that, how can we remedy that? Do you have a plan, or can you see going forward how we can get out of this quagmire? I mean, what are your thoughts on that? You must have some.
I do. I try to have a very positive outlook. Not to discredit our president. I grew up where, my parents believed in the government, believed in every presidency. and you don't talk against your government. You don't talk bad about
Mm-hmm.
the government. So I
So what do
genuinely
you? How can we get out of this quagmire? What would you do to get us?
you
Better.
in any, just like in any bad situation, you have to find the good and try and get out from this situation. If this presidency, it's, you know what, it just depends on who you talk to. Some people see the good. There's a lot of people who see the
Yeah,
bad.
well, yeah.
You know, it's always conflicting reports, but Rev, I do try to keep an open mind. I am not personally a Trump supporter,
Mm-hmm.
but the only
Did
thing.
you vote for him?
No, I did not.
I shouldn't answer that. That's private, right?
You know what? Because I didn't see president material. When somebody spews hate,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of hard to follow that person, you know, and hope for the best for our country. It just didn't do it for me,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So definitely in the next election, educate myself more on issues, get the both sides, and vote the best way that I can. Not for me, but because for the next generation. Like Trump's plan said, after 10 years it will take effect on one of his policies.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's my daughter's generation and
Mhm,
grandkids'
mhm,
generation.
mhm.
You know, so it might probably affect me. I will be a senior.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
that will take effect.
It's gonna have dire effects on you and your children, or your child at this point. But what I was looking for one remedy we have that Russia doesn't have, and Cuba doesn't have, and North Korea doesn't have. We have the ballot box, and that's what we can change the course of this country. If everybody got and vote their interests. If you are female, you vote your interest. What is he doing for you? If you are African American, you vote your interest. And that's how you get out of this quagmire. And if you stay home and don't vote, you voting for the one that's causing you all the pain.
Absolutely.
So let's change courses. This came out of Newsday. It says demeaning words attributed to President Donald Trump about Haiti, El Salvador, and impoverished African nations grew condemnation Friday as immigrants, advocates, and politicians said they reflect a view contrary to the American spirit. Among the critics, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, appearing at a swearing-in of the first black sheriff in Suffolk County, said he couldn't repeat Trump's words without disrespecting his office of governor. Instead, Cuomo lauded the United States for welcoming all, no matter what race, what color, what creed, what income level, what educational level, and as an experiment that worked well. Looking around this room, Cuomo told those at the inauguration of Earl Toverland, Jr., we are all from different places, and nobody came here rich and powerful. People who came here were poor and harder masses, he continued. They came with clothes on their back, but a desire in their heart to do better, and promise in this country was you could do better here. And that is exactly the story. Trump words is widely reported, cast the homeland of people from Haiti, El Salvador, and poor African nations as shitholes. Excuse me, young lady. And the countries are doing a discussion Thursday at the White House in immigration. Trump was reported to having said preferred immigrants of places like Norway. The president on Friday denied saying anything derogatory, though he did acknowledge on tweets that the language used by me was tough. He said he didn't insult Haitians and others. That he says that Haiti is obviously a very poor and troubling country. Leaders of Long Island, Haitians, Salvador, and immigrants advocates communities who gathered at a news conference Friday in Hempstead said the controversy confirmed their belief that the administration is pursuing bias and racist policies. Enough is enough, said Mercy Manuel Garcia, 65, a co-founder of the Haitian American. So what do you think about his opinion on that?
That's something, okay,
Does
definitely.
that bother you?
Yes, it does, because I think wherever somebody comes from, another country, they're proud of that country. They don't want it seen, just because a country is poor, has economic issues, doesn't make it what he said it was. It's not the people that make it like that. There might be corruption in any type of poor country.
Mm-hmm.
That might make it like that if that's how he feels. But
Mhm.
honestly, that's something he shouldn't have said out loud. If you feel like that, you got to keep that, again, that hate thought to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it didn't do him any favors to say that. It just caused a lot of hurt, a lot of anger, a lot of animosity toward him. I certainly don't want to hear it from where my ancestors came from.
And where did it come from?
Well, for instance, like my dad had a very poor background,
Mhm.
came from a very poor part of Mexico.
Okay, he did?
Yeah, and there's a lot of drug cartels, but I'm very proud that he came from that. That's part of our culture that I try to teach my daughter. It's a great country. There's a lot of good people. I still, for instance, I found I found a first cousin on Facebook. His family moved out of Mexico. They live in Arizona,
Mm-hmm.
but he informed me that my aunt and uncle still live in Mexico. That's great. You know, there's no issues, and I'm very proud that they live in Mexico. There's no embarrassment, but it would hurt me, and it would hurt my feelings if he were to talk about that country like that. So definitely, yes, I can understand how the people feel that way. So
you
any type
agree,
of power.
So you do agree with this article then? That's what I wanted to hear you say. You agree with them advocating against this hatred?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You need to advocate any type of hatred, especially to any type of group of people. It's very hurtful, and that's something he should be unifying everyone. Instead, he's distancing everyone, and that's not what any position of leadership should be doing. They should be If his cabinet can't be united, how can they make a United States?
Mm-hmm. They can't. They can't.
There's nothing but division.
They can't.
You know.
You know, the word dead means there's no life.
Right.
There is no ambiguity in that. There is no life.
Right.
Dead is dead. Right.
Right.
So now, if you take that to the next level, and you said hate is what? Hate is hate. There's no ambiguity.
No, we need to.
There is no wiggle room out of that.
There's nothing, and we need all differences of culture because we all enjoy different types of culture.
When you and I met on Facebook, we met out of respect for culture, respect for ideas.
Absolutely.
You know, we didn't see color.
No, and I grew up in a very diverse community, and you just embrace it.
Yeah.
You know, I love the differences.
And when you embrace something, it's no ambiguity. It's embrace means you embrace.
You embrace it.
And
there's an understanding.
And there's no misunderstanding about that.
No, and there's a sense of appreciation for differences, just like differences of opinion. When you and your spouse have differences of opinion, you don't hate them. You just take in what they're saying.
Well, see,
What they're saying.
different opinion. You got you can move left and right on that because it's not it does not put you in a box because you're different and I'm different. We just don't get along on certain things.
Right.
But hate, there's no wiggle room.
There isn't, and no one wants to be associated with hate.
There's no hate.
They say they do, but it's dangerous ground.
It is. It is.
I just don't know.
It really is. And the thing, I look at words. I look at what people say.
Mhm.
And when you use words like this word you used, well, I use in the reading, I meant there's no wiggle room out of that. You said it, and you probably meant it, and there's no getting around that. He said, "Oh, I use strong language." No, you use something that you can't get out of.
He went beyond strong words. He went with how
Of
he
course he
felt,
did. Of course
his
he did.
interpretation of those countries.
Of course he did.
Instead of showing compassion, well, what's making these countries like this?
Right.
They need help. They need aid. They need education. They need health care to better themselves, better the country. Instead of just calling it what it is.
Instead of showing leadership, he took the lower role
Yes, unfortunately.
and showed the darkest part of who we are.
How we appear to other countries.
Yeah, but he took the darkened road.
He did take the darkened road.
He didn't
and
take
it's-
leadership.
Yeah, and I don't think that was his intent to take the darkened road. I just think they didn't exude leadership skills when he made that comment. And I'm not, I don't defend anyone. Everyone has their own views, their own say, their own actions. But to me, that's what it appeared. And it wasn't a good thing for him to say that. It just didn't make him look good. And not that he should say things just to make himself look good, but he should be exuding that leadership and make people feel good and feel
When
positive.
you think about John F. Kennedy, what comes to your first thought come to your mind?
Well, my mom adored him, and
Okay.
what comes to mind is that he put it into that generation. What can they do for the country instead of saying, well, what's in it for me? What can they do for me?
Okay. And when you think of Jimmy Carter, what comes to your mind? He was the president too, Jimmy Carter.
He was the president. I was young.
What comes to your mind?
I
You
really
can remember anything?
just the Iran-Contra scandal, to be honest with you. I just remember that. That's the with
When
that
you
in Reagan.
think of George Bush Jr., not the senior,
Right.
what comes to your mind? Think about what he did now.
Honestly, that was a time when I was raising my children, so I wasn't really, honestly, what comes to mind is the 9/11, how he handled that.
Okay, what about going into Iraq?
I don't think the government had the full information they needed. I think they needed to do something to combat the 9/11. That was a wake-up call to everybody.
So, in other words, an excuse to do something to someone that you disagree with is not a reason to go to war,
Absolutely.
and that's what they did. They claimed they had
information with mass destruction of weapons.
right. They had weapon mass destruction, which was not true.
Right.
Gave them an excuse to go in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that when you think of Bush, that's what comes to my mind. Now, when you think of Obama, what first come to your mind? We only got 1 minute. Just give me one thought.
No, I'm change. Everybody was hoping for change with Obama.
Okay.
That's the number one thing that
So
comes to
would that
mind.
be leadership?
He definitely is a leadership
Right.
type of person. He's very charismatic
Right.
from what I see.
So she showed leadership. Now, when you think of Donald Trump, what comes to your mind? Just think,
Yeah.
nothing.
No, there is. I just don't want to be too negative.
But what you have to
Okay.
tell the truth.
Absolutely.
So what comes to your mind when you think of Donald Trump? Let me help you out.
Yeah, because it's difficult to put it into words.
What come to my mind is here's a man that lied more than 2,000 times in 1 year on record, proven. So, radio fans, thank you very much for another show of episode of Lounge Road. We hope to see you next Tuesday at the same time and the same place. Have a wonderful day.
Take care.